Good morning.
It's very good to see you. We are also aware that there are people we can't see, but who are with us anyway, and we want you to know in the audience that we are saying good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
This is our third session this morning with the sisters. Once again, inside and outside sisters, and we are considering the questions that I think we walk around with all the time and that come up over the years that talk about women, the moms, mothers. In some cases, I have, and I'm sure you have too, seen the other kind of thinking that people have done about the kind of maternalistic approach or the matrilineal system within the African community in America in particular. And that kind of matrilineal system, matriarch, as people talk about, has been classified as a problem that in many cases, Senator Moynihan and others years ago, you guys were not even born when that was happening, but the theories around the failure of our people to develop and to become what we think of and what they think of as productive citizens, hold jobs and stay out of prison, all those kinds of things, were really connected to this, once again, the matriarchal or the matrilineal system that is so much a part of our culture and cultural ways and cultural values. So we started this on just considering that as kind of the background for our question, which speaks to Black mothers and the sun's rising at this particular time, this chapter in our history in this country, this chapter in our developing our community and our people, and this chapter of our recovery. So what we knew from the first and the second time is that in the middle of this floor, when they talk about the elephant in the room, was the enslavement system, the enslavement process. And so we were able to see by what you all have said that enslavement system did something that I heard you talk about as cutting or disconnecting. I heard you say that the womb of the Black mother, in particular the Black mother, there were these ingredients in the walls of the womb that really needed to be, first of all, understood by us as it relates to connecting to and being connected by the Creator in creation. And lots of people hear us say that, and when folks have heard us talk about it, it sounds too kind of, what would you say? I don't know. A word that people use when we talk about our relationship to the Creator in creation, not religious, but in the realm of religion. Spiritual for us, but on the outside looking in, people may consider that our being arrogant, highfalutin, whatever, far-fetched and stretched. And as a matter of fact, sometimes the conversation is that we see ourselves in many cases along this question of supremacy, supreme, high and mighty, better than. But we're not dealing with all those things. We're just acknowledging that they're out there. And we're just acknowledging that within the context of the enslavement of our people, lying in the middle of the floor, like once again, an elephant in the room, that there are some things that happen. What happened continues to be important for us to unravel and to heal the memory of those things. So our process of healing the memory, those things that we have kept inside of our memory, those things that have been recorded in such a way that we could open them up any moment, turn on the recording any moment, and the pain takes voice and becomes a part of what we do all the time. So that's what I've heard, both listen to you as others have identified a problem, but I've heard you speak to who we really are by origin. I brought to you this idea of Lucy in terms of the human or the origin of humanity, the human origin, and the study that's being done, not the study that has been done, and now the celebration of this 50 years since that particular discovery was made. So there's so much happening, and we wanted to bring together you because you know those things, you live it, you have experience, and you, as far as I'm concerned, are the scholars. Literature is not the only way that scholarship in our community is both developed, articulated, and then passed on. And we see you as some of the experiential scholars about this. That's why you're here. That's why I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And so today, what we get to do, because this is our third day, we get to stay in the realm of the solution, not the problem. We get to stay in the realm of the, when we talk about a problem, there has to be a solution. So we get to stay in the realm of thinking solution for us is origin. What is our nature? What was covered up? So it's not like the problem that was we are reacting to the problem. What we are saying is before that quote unquote problem was claimed to be a problem by the outside, what we're claiming is that the origin, the originality of our understanding of our relationship with the Creator, with creation, our understanding of the powerful, powerful role of the mother. We have heard people say it's a hard, hard, hard job. Today, we're going to talk about maybe in some ways it might be described as hard, but in our ways, it's natural, it's normal. Mm-hmm. It is the place to be, it is the place to go, and it's the future. It's significant to the future of our people. So that's what I want you to be ready to speak to. I want the audience to know that, like you in the audience, we have a couple of people who sent us statements last time. And we want you to know that we want you to do that today. We'd like you to speak up. We have someone working with us who will tell us when there is a statement that we want, or a comment, or a question. And so really, we want this to be interactive today. Interactive in another way. And then I'm going to turn it over to you. You talked about the very first meeting, we talked about prayer. Remember that?
Yep.
We ask you to think about prayer as it relates to the power of understanding and knowing and speaking on a day-by-day basis, moment-by-moment basis, to who we now, once again, are talking about as the Creator. And we say in the cultural wellness approach, what we say is the Creator acting through creation. So it's not about begging or pleading as much as it is about acknowledging. And the prayer is my acknowledgement that I know that I know that I know I know. What is it? I know.
That's it.
The Creator, the God, the divine. So you get to start, please, by introducing by giving your name again. People, I'm sure, remember, but one more time, your name. And your statement of prayer. And we'll go from there. I am hopeful that you'll just speak right up. Speak right
I
up.
heard you say, look, you know we speak up now. I heard you talk. I heard you really call out, Elder, that we want to be solution focused today. And the first thing that surfaced with me was just reconnection. That we talked about the connection that has been severed. So I've been thinking since that conversation about like what has severed the connection. What has severed the connection? What have been the mechanisms that have been used
To sever the
to
connection.
sever the connection.
And therefore, you're going to talk about if you know
Yes.
what those are, then you can.
You can reconnect. Right?
Okay.
And so, just as a mother with my sons, just teaching them to be very intentional about connecting, right? So, for instance, we have these devices now that are really intentional. That's what they want us connected to. That is divide. Oftentimes, to disconnect you from the divine. There's ways you can connect, right? You can watch videos or scripture, whatever you're into through that device. But when was the last time you put pen to paper? Right? We know the power of putting pen to paper. When was the last time you sat face to face with a group of people and actually had a dialogue? Or is everything in the matrix? And so these are tools that we have to teach our children now because they're growing up in a very different context than when I did. This stuff was just surfacing. Now it is integrated in everything. And so that reconnection, that really taking that time to be intentional and say, how long have I been on this thing? How long have I been watching this screen? How long have I been in the matrix? And how much time have I spent in nature? How much time have I spent in dialogue? How much time have I spent alone with my own thoughts? The process of self-study. And so as a mother, I tried to model that for my children and not just talk to them about it, but really show them and say, hey guys, let's put our phones away and let's sit together and let's just have dialogue because it's easy with all the tools that are designed to disconnect you from your divinity. So we just have to be really intentional about that. So that's what surfaced for me right away. For other mothers, who aren't sure how to do that, right? There are ways, ancient ways of knowing and being and doing. Oftentimes it surfaces, but you're not sure what that inclination is. You don't know what to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. My work with the Cultural Wellness Center, I now have the language, right? That's helpful. So we can teach the children. So thank you for listening.
And your name is?
J. Devon Nolan. Thank you.
And your prayer is?
My prayer is for us to really be intentional about our divine connection. Our divinity is within us, and just seek it. I'm seeking it every day, all day, in those moments, especially when I'm challenged.
Great, thank you. We're going to come back a little bit and talk about, in that case, how do you see it helping with this question about we're not single parents. We're not the problem as a matriarch or matrilineal culture. We'll come back to that. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hotep, my name is Sister Peace, and my prayer is simply thank you. That's it. Just thank you.
And who is the you you're thanking?
Thank you to the Creator, the higher power, the ancestors, everyone I come in contact with, the planet, the universe. Thank you for it all, to it all.
Mm-hmm. So the universe is a you.
Boom.
Each person around the room is a you.
Mhm.
So it's a one-on-one, in spite of the fact that it might appear to be something more than or less than a one-on-one. So when you say thank you. Yes. Yes. Who else?
I can go. I remember, my name is Anke Sierra, and I remember the first day we were shooting, and I was, our first discussion, and I was a little uncomfortable because, I left the church a long time ago, and so, even now to today, prayer and, some of the things that are associated with it kind of makes me be like, and so I found myself thinking about how even though you may not be in the church, that there still are prayers that I use and that I say, and that in terms of, and depending on what day, every day is different, whether I do affirmations for myself, but it's more of an invoking of our ancestors and a more evoking of the spirit of, and most of the times it's through the people who I know have done these amazing things throughout our history and heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may call, give me the strength to, Harriet Tubman to, or may I have within me this or that, or,
Yes.
And so there's an honoring of the spirits of the people who I know have lived and have gone through so many horrible things that I can't even imagine that I, draw strength from.
Mhm. Thank you.
That's mine.
Yes. Yes. Next, please.
I can go next. My name is Tashira, and my prayer is understanding, because he says through all things get an understanding. And I feel like so many times in life when we're going through the motions and the potions and just going through life, so many things happen from a lack of understanding someone else's standpoint, where a person is like, you always know that saying, like, me and you can look at that cup and see or look out that window and see two different views, and just understanding one another will help us. And just in my spirit, the Lord today said, when you said, what is your prayer? It's for understanding, because he says through all things, get true understanding.
I want to once again say to people in the audience that if you have a prayer or if you have a statement, as Sister Anket has said, if you have a statement of acknowledgement of the divine in creation, we would love to have you send that through, and so we can read it back to those in the audience. So please give us the statement that you might have about this position of praying and prayer. Yes.
My name is Roberta, and I pray the Word of God. I pray Psalms 91, which is always praying that God is my refuge and my fortress. In Him I can trust. And then not only that, he said that 1,000 will fall at my side and tens of thousands at my right hand. And I always pray Psalms 23, where the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And then I'm also thankful. I start off in worship and in praise, and then I pray the Word of God, because He said His word would not return unto Him void, that it would prosper and wherefore it was sent. And I agree with you. He said, in all you're getting, get understanding. And so I think we have to spend time in the Word to really understand the Word so that we can rightly divide the truth. Because I think so many times the Word of God, God Himself, our Heavenly Father, the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, however you want to acknowledge Him, so many times we don't get the truth. And that's what separates us, from our Heavenly Father, the divine, the Creator. And I see Him greater than our Creator, but that is one of His natures. But yes, that is my prayer.
I think that the power of what each of you, have expressed, it's really powerful, and that is very, very tied to this what's in the middle of the floor, the period of our enslavement as a people, and some of the ways that we have had to take a look at religion, as Sister Anket said. We've had to take a look at religion, the different religious, positions, the different religious teachings, and how do the religious teachings help or not help us connect to God in a very direct way. So I think that our next series, which is she'll announce in a minute, we do have to really get to this idea that as we think about ourselves, the Black mother, and sons rising, there is a reason for that particular way of describing it, because it gives us a chance to think about our origin, going back all the way back to when creation came into being, going all the way back to the creation story, going all the way back to Adam and Eve, and all of those kind of teachings now that we have to unravel. We have to unravel the teachings now, because we have to unravel anything that has to do with us in relationship to being human beings, and being human beings without permission from someone else who has really thought about how they were able to create us as non-human. You see what I mean?
Well,
this whole concept of non-human comes with the enslavement. And what we're saying is no one gets to determine human existence on the planet except the creator and the divine forces that brought that into existence. So I appreciate what you all have opened with, because it also sets the stage for our next series of conversations for us to think about and think with each other about, how am I going to be connected to the God concept? How am I going to be able to connect with the statement that in Islam, many times they say there is no God but God? So what does that statement really mean? Or in the ideas around the idea that there is one God, just what you have said. So is there one source of humanity, one origin story, one original human, one original way? And are we also at this point in time going to be able to study that well enough to reconnect us to each other, to reconnect us to our sisters, our brothers, our cousins, our people, no matter where they are on the planet? Are we going to be able to reconnect ourselves? And is that really what is the quote unquote village that has to reconnect and raise our children? Does that make sense? Okay, so now we have this opening part about that's part of the path that we're going to take to reconnecting with our origin. But what else do you have to do individually? Holding yourself accountable. Absolutely. Somebody mentioned self-study. You have how many sons, Miss Roberta? Tashara, how many sons do each of you have? And let's talk about what you are going to do. Be specific now. What am I going to do to assure that my son or sons has a full complement of knowledge that will increase his capacity to rise up beyond the caps that are attempting to be placed on his mind, spirit, body. Okay? Think about, what are you going to correct? What are you going to do? Because it's only you that can do it, actually. You're the only one who can make this change happen, because you're the only one, in many cases, who know what's happening. You know what's on the inside, and you know the struggle that you think you're having with your son versus your daughter, or the father versus yourself. And it was some good stuff that we learned about all of that. But what about you today? What are you going to do? How have you assessed what you need to do? If nobody can start, let me start with saying to you that I gave birth to 4 sons. And one of them, my Joffrey, I sometimes talk about decided to leave.
Yes.
and decided to go back to the Creator, to the ancestors, because it was so hard to be himself here.
Mhm.
He had a heavy heart. The medical establishment talked about large. They talk about the heart, enlarged heart.
Mhm.
And at some point, it gave out. And it was one of those things that was what I believe is a mark in my life where I had to take a look at, and I did take a look through. I'm sure it was self-absorption, because in the midst of losing a son, I was totally self-absorbed, felt sorry for myself, could not move, for days.
Mhm.
And then I realized this is not about me, but it is about me. What were the kinds of things that I did? So since then, what I've done is, number one, I don't carry guilt
Mhm.
for the things that I did during their years, my pregnancy and others, that may have caused what I believe some confusion about what that path was. I now say to myself, forgive yourself. And if I can forgive myself for the fact that I was ignorant and did not know,
That's right.
that I was ignoring and did not act in ways that put the space in our home that would be kind of representative of the ingredients in my womb. I didn't know that then. I was also immature, my spiritual as well as knowledge and maturity. I did things that made me feel good and included, because I had my self-absorption and self-esteem and had been beat down and told so many times that I was nothing, knew nothing, wasn't pretty, wasn't all these things. So I was really trying to get to be something and somebody. And so those driving forces cause you to go off on a path. And did I think about, at that point in time, did I know those things would be consequences that maybe my children, my sons, all my sons, may have to at some point try to recover from? So that's my Joffrey, and Joffrey now, as a part of the ancestral world, on a day-by-day basis, in some cases moment by moment, said, Mom, it's okay. Gives me great power to get up in the morning and to walk around knowing that, invisible though he might be, he is still with me. What about you? What did I do to do that? I admitted.
That's right.
And at the same time, admonished. And at the same time, forgave, got up off my, you know what, and began to do differently, and really know differently. So what about you?
You hit it all, Elder, already.
Well, I mean, you know what though? That's the other thing about us, and
Yes.
I include myself in this, we can talk a good talk.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if I said something that you think, what was it that I said that you now see yourself also doing?
Yeah, I have 3 sons, 3 wonderful sons, and a daughter, 4 children that I birthed. I'm also the eldest of 5 brothers, put in context, right? So I've been studying men and boys for a long time. And so when I became a mother, there were many things I was really intentional about trying not to do with my first son. Yeah, right? All the things, right? And so he's been my best teacher. He's reflected lots of things back to me about myself.
Yes.
That I then had 3 more children. Thank goodness I could do a little better. And I believe I have. Each time now. And, and so what I've done is a lot of the things you said, Elder, I don't carry guilt because I can't, how can I be held responsible for something I did not know?
Right.
And even in my parenting, and as I'm parenting my children, I say, am I holding you accountable for something I have taught you or have not taught you? And so in those moments, I have to be vulnerable with them because I'm not perfect. Mommy makes mistakes. I have to apologize when I do that. These are things I had to learn to do. I wasn't taught. I had to learn it because I valued them and I care for them and I didn't want to cause more harm. And so just creating space for those dialogues. And the most important thing I would say that I've done is studying myself. I can't echo that so much. It's so easy to be outward focused and give this projection, be a chameleon, a shapeshifter, and go in all these spaces and places and do not know yourself, because that's what you have to put out to protect yourself, right? That's your defense mechanism from
Yeah.
all the hurt and pain that
Yeah.
you don't want people to see. That's
Mhm.
right here at the surface.
Yeah.
One wrong thing, and it's all right there. And so I've just tried to be an example, but also be really honest with my children about where I am on my own healing journey,
Yes.
and that they have their own path of healing, but that we are on it together, right? And that we have tools that we can reach to. And a big part of that is reconnecting with our divinity, whether that is through prayer, more formal prayer. I was raised in the church as well, and learned to prostrate, but I also pray when I'm driving. I pray when I'm happy. I pray when I'm upset, right? That has been the tool. And we use that word pray just to seek that connection to something greater than myself, because I need help.
Yes.
That's
yes,
right.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
I
right.
need help. And I think that was the last thing I'll say, Elder, is just recognizing that I need help sometimes.
Yes.
And being really clear about what that help looks like and learning how to receive help. That's a big thing. Like, I got it, because I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if you're gonna, take what I give you and try to use it against me later. And I have to protect these 4 children. That's always top of mind for us as black mothers, right? It's protection first. So getting beyond that fear-based kind of parenting, I wanted to protect you all the time,
Sure.
and give you the tools to know that you were born great. You were born with divinity inside of you,
Yes.
and be intentional about tapping into that. And we are on this journey together, because I want to be there to witness the
Yes.
greatness.
That's great.
Thank you for listening.
And your children's names?
Oh, let's see. My eldest son is Aramis. My middle son is DeMarco. My daughter is Anais, and my baby boy is Elijah.
Thank you so much. All right, you all, come on in here.
I'll go. I have 2 children, but 3. 2 boys and 3 total. My last one is my baby girl, and she'll be my baby girl. And all my children will be my babies
Oh, yeah.
until the day I
That's
transition from this side. Like you, Elder, with my oldest son, and I said it was a testing, an experiment on really learning how to be a good mother. And I was very protective of him, very, very protective. He'd go outside, I had to go outside with him. If he rode his bike, he could ride his bike as far as I could see him in this direction and as far as I could see him in this direction. I wanted to know who his friends were. I wanted to know their parents and know what they were doing, what they believed in. And as my son grew up, he waited until he was 18 and he went buck wild. And I tried to figure out what I did wrong. And that's the first thing we as mothers think about if something goes wrong with our children. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And so I had to talk to him. And you talk about what we need to do now. We got to always talk to our children. I don't care if they're 100 and I'm 200. The line of communication has to stay open. And then I also have to recognize the fact that they are adults, and I am going to, ultimately, all the choices are theirs to make. But I'm going to be there to support them in whatever choices they make. If they fall down, mama gonna be there to help them get back up. That is who we are, and that's who I am. And so I'm going to make sure that because I talk to my sons every day and my daughter every day. I'm going to make sure that I'm there and the line of communication stays open, and I
Yes.
can give them the wisdom
Yes.
of age.
Yes.
Because there's nothing new under the sun. If they going through it, chances are me and their dad has been through it too. So
Yes. That's wonderful. Yes.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, Mr. Birdie, your son's name.
oh, my oldest son is Ernest, and my middle son is Brian, and my baby is Keisha.
All right.
okay. So I have one son, and his name is Justin, and he's 17 years old. He'll be 18 April 4th. And if anybody has had a teenager, I'm going through the motions and emotions right now of being a teenage mom of a young man who is figuring himself out and trying to heal. And it is something, especially for me, being there as mom as he's trying to heal, because mom is trying to heal too.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then trying to be there for my son and be present
Mhm.
for him. In addition to all the other stuff that I'm doing in my life, but making sure that he is a priority and making sure that he knows that mom is here. But then it gets to be a little bit of a struggle because mom is here and mom is understanding, but then also mom is mom too, and keeping that line of communication. Yeah, right. I'm not, and see, that's what I'm always telling them. I'm not your friend, okay? So being
A
okay.
friendly mom.
Yeah, I'm a nice mom, but I'm not. I don't think I'm a friendly mom. I'm a nice mom, but so just that because him losing his dad at such a young age and not having the opportunity to build that relationship with dad. And one thing he said to me one time, which kind of broke my heart, is I remember him, but I don't know him. Like, I know you, mom. I don't know him. I just remember like being around him and being with him. And so when his father passed away, I was going through so much trauma and everything at that time from his loss. I feel like I wasn't the mother that I should have been because I was so distraught over what happened to his dad that I don't know. I guess I kind of feel I was feeling sadness and regret.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when you talked about forgiving yourself is one of the things that I've really been on the journey of, from feeling that sadness of feeling like I wasn't really present. So sometimes when I have had trouble with my son, I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong?
Yes.
And then I resorted back to when he was little, when I lost Big Justin,
Yes.
how I feel like I wasn't there the way that I should have been as a mother because I was struggling so bad myself with the loss of his dad.
Yes.
So that forgiving myself is so important because I need to forgive myself in order so I can fully show up for my son and be present for him right now as he goes forward.
That's right. Wow. Well, there's a couple of things that I really have to say is that in terms of talking, communicating, listening is another side of the talking and communicating, and that sometimes our children, as you have said, your son said, I don't know him, I know you. But one of the storytelling things that we can do to make it really powerful for him. And I use the word powerful because I feel like it can be healthy and healthier if you do know stories that you can help him to know his father. I think that one of the things that we do when the relationship with the father with the father of our children doesn't sound like what you just said, which was a relationship that was a great relationship and then he died. In many of our cases, it's a father who may not be a good relationship. So we don't shy away from telling the story about the father who was quote unquote no good, didn't do this, blah blah blah. We tell the story. We don't tell the story though about the father's good side, which made us then go with him in the first place. Because there was something good
that we went there
that we
anyway.
went to and that we saw. But once he's gone, we tell all the stories about you just like your father.
Yeah.
And what that means is you hurting me like your father hurt me. They ain't hurting you just because they're trying, So I'm sorry, but you took me off on a track there. But I want you to really hear what we say to ourselves, and maybe not even acting out on that in the way our heart tells us to. So yes.
We wanted her to say her son's name.
She did, Justin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Justin.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
big Justin
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
little Justin.
Yeah.
And then I was just gonna say, unless we're conscious of not creating that narrative for the children about, all the things that we've gone through with their dad, and we're conscious of trying to make sure that our children have that positivity, with their relationship with their dad.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't.
Even if we don't.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I mean, I can relate to all the sisters on so many levels. And myself, I did have to leave a domestic violence situation. And that guilt certainly affected my parenting. And I had to figure out, because, my son was mad that I left, and then I'm in this space. Well, do I tell him why I left? Because I was conscious of trying to create and make sure that he had a positive relationship with him and not let my relationship, interfere with that. So struggling with, do I tell him what happened? And so I allowed him.
And will he believe you anyway?
And will he believe me? And I had to figure out, So he was mad, and so I'm sitting and I'm allowing him to be mad, and at some point it got to the space to where I was like, you know what? I'm your mama and you're going to respect me regardless if you know what's really happening. And then until I had to tell him, what happened. Because it did come to a point to where, just trying to maintain that respect with him in terms of who I am. And, I had to share the story.
Did it change?
It did somewhat.
See?
But,
That's what I'm
it
saying.
did somewhat.
Okay.
And his
Yeah.
father, also shared too.
Great.
With him, and he was honest about this.
That is powerful. It's a powerful thing because if you tell the truth
That's right.
and not make up something bigger than what it was, sometimes you can also generate the truth. That's really powerful. That's great. I want to warn us about the time, but thank you so much. That's really great. And your son's name?
Ishbar.
Ishpar. Thank you.
Ishbar is he will be 24 in July this year. So, he's one of our
Really powerful.
babies.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just, I don't want to take up too much space. So.
Well, we're at 8:19. That's
Thank you, Sister Peace.
No problem.
Thank you.
So I have 3 sons, Evan, who's 27, Isaiah, who's 21, and Manuel, who's 18. And I also have a grandson named Rome, who will be 7. Yeah. And so I appreciate everything that everybody shared, and I definitely hear and see myself in many different ways. I think one of the main things for me that I've really had to put into practice just this week is what can feel counterintuitive to this idea of protection and control.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
so listening can feel counterintuitive for me sometimes, and allowing, you know, and realizing that the same presence that was with me in the darkest of times, because I was a wild girl, you know, and that same presence that carried me through every situation is with my boys,
That's right.
you know, but it can just feel so hard to just, you know, take my hands off of something, you know, but just because I take my hands off of it, I still have prayer, you know, I still have that unseen connection. So, what's
Absolutely. Well, I think I know the audience is still with us, and we just want to say quickly, as we this is the third, and we have 3 more starting on
March
yes
28th.
on March 28th.
I
Yes,
just want to share a thought, great takeaways. Now, Marita asked the tools. First of all, she uses prayer, positive support, nutrition, exercise, and therapy. What do you use that you're imparting those life learning lessons for your children, but also allowing them to grow, and the things you use to help you kind of go on your healing?
So what do we use? I think those are great kind of 1 or 2 statements. I'm going to say number 1, when we, I started with this idea of prayer, but to really make it clear that prayer is the time that you sit alone, that time that you rest yourself, the time that you forgive yourself. And the second thing is to really, really, really get rid of the pain. The pain that you carry around is not yours, and it does you no good except to multiply itself. Multiplies itself tremendously. So get rid of the pain however you can do that, by talking to someone like in this group, by really through your prayer and acknowledgement that the things that went wrong could have been lessons that were teaching you, and they could have been ways for you to understand your part in that.
Yeah.
So accept it that the pain is really, to me, a major, major message. Your couple of things to do.
Telling myself a different story than I've been telling myself most of this 45 years.
A different story than
the past stories that I held.
and that somebody else gave you,
Yeah,
that were not your own anyway.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The things that I use, definitely, I use nature a lot. So seeing the sunrise and having rituals that I do.
For
For
yourself.
myself, and having my children grow up doing rituals with me.
Yes, yes.
I would say, Elder, I turn my pain into power because it's ever present. I'm like, I survived that. I
Okay.
did that. I'm still here. So that keeps me going because the pain is there. You know, what am I going to do with it? I have
Yes.
to transform it into something else.
That's right.
Oh, I can agree with that and identify with that so much. Is turning the
Yes.
pain into purpose, his purpose. You know, prayer. I can identify with all of it. Nature, and that one of my sisters, one of you guys said connection earlier. Really being intentional about spending time with my son, because I'm always out there.
That's right.
And I'm always doing this for someone else, and he really
So true.
needs me as his mom, because he's struggling, he's going through, he's growing, he's going out there every day. My fear of when he goes out there. So trust is another thing. Trusting
Yes,
that higher being bigger than all of us
yes.
is important, and connecting with that higher being on my son's behalf, like Sister P said, even though taking my hands off, but still knowing that
Yeah.
I have other options
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
Intercessor.
Mr. Bird.
I think spending time with with your children is so very important, because that's one thing that I did not do. My life was so busy that I didn't spend the time, and now I'm
That's right.
spending the time
That's right.
with them.
So this spending time thing is that the way you spend time is you have a bedtime and you go to bed
Mhm.
instead of turning on the TV and
Same.
telling them to go to bed. You go someplace else, but go to bed. Have a bedtime. Have a bedtime where you set the path for the evening. You have dinner with the children, and the conversation around the table is not eat up everything on the plate, because we can't afford you to
That's
waste
right.
food.
That's right.
And also to enjoy the food that is available to us now. We don't have to cook a whole bunch of it and keep it 3, 4, 5 days. Food that is including them, food that they can both taste and experience and participate in. And the nutritious thing is very important, because we eat our pain away in many cases.
That's
And
right.
so trying to figure out how do we listen and talk and relieve ourselves of the pain in other ways. One way is to hold their hands, to walk together, to once again get up at sunrise and try to make it clear that the rising sun, S-U-N sun, really is very, very, very consistent. No matter what, the sun does not ever really go away, but it does go down. So making the references to the sun coming up, the sun going down, which might be a good analogy or a good metaphor for this is your S-O-N sun. Relating what you know about them to how creation unfolds, whether it's the moon cycle, which we've talked about, that, they connect the moon cycle to women and all of the emotional challenges but it's in creation. So finding ways to drive together to places where there is water, for you to walk together to places where there is something that they may enjoy, but ask them, not to force them to go. And I think our sons really do want to be men, not the man of the house.
That's right.
But they have this path that they're going on. Get some other good brothers in your life, as a part of your life, good brothers who are a part of the village, and really get rid of the anger that you have. You have to get rid of the anger.
Absolutely.
And replace that anger with infinite love, the love that comes with us, that gives us the capacity to love in spite of. Let's talk about how we develop that. And maybe our next session, which is March 28th, we can begin, these kind of reclaiming of the origin, the original, the way we have been before the Willie Lynch syndrome, before we were taught that we had to be the only and all that take care of ourselves, because that is not the truth. So I don't know what else to say except, my goodness, it's great to have this discussion, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We gotta wait till 28th to do this.
We gotta wait till 28th to do it again. And we want to have as many people as you want to be in the circle, in the full circle. But I also want you to keep talking this out with people. And don't talk so much about, what you haven't had. I really encourage you to talk about what you achieved to get through, what got you over.
That's right.
And how you love that person with whom you had a child. You had if it was a moment or a year or whatever number of months and minutes it was, you gotta talk about minutes. Okay, I hope it wasn't just a minute. But the point is, there was something that happened. There was something that happened that was very, very powerful to bring into existence this powerful being. So whatever that experience was, it was good enough to bring that child into being, and it's good enough to remember for the goodness that it brought. And I know we don't know how to talk about that a lot, but the truth of the matter is, it was a moment, and it was our choosing to be in the moment. And now it's our choosing to be in the future. And we have the capacity to do that.
Yes, we do.
So remember every good moment and then share it with your All right, everybody. We want to say once again, Black Mothers, Sons Rising, a healing club, healing circle for Black mothers. Healing for us is really the core of this, but we can't heal just ourselves without healing our children.
That's right.
And we say, especially our sons, because our daughter's gonna copy. You know she's gonna, yeah. But the sons may decide he don't want to copy what you do. So let us put something else in place. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you in the audience. We will see you soon.
Okay.
Hotep, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.